Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Talk of the Pack, the howl around town, where the wolves you hear at the midnight hour. That's right, it's us, the Blackwolves boys, coming back for another episode of the Blackwolves Podcast. I am Jeremy Van Suarez.
I am Jacob Wade.
I am Logan Riley Bruner.
Because we can do this now because there's Zoom layouts. And welcome to the podcast. And you already know we're gonna kick it off with what content have we been digesting this week? You know, it's the week before Christmas. Have we been getting in the holiday spirit? Have we been revisiting old favorites, trying to rewatch movies that we've slept through previously before? Jacob, why don't you start?
Sure. I recently watched Home Alone and Home Alone 2 just to get in the spirit of Christmas.
Excellent.
Great films. I wasn't going to bother with Home Alone 3. I'm not going to talk about it because I haven't seen it, but had no interest in seeing it.
I think
also,
that's a completely different cast, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Not the same without Macaulay.
Exactly. But yeah, great movies, put me in the spirit. And then I watched some Netflix, like the holiday movies that made us.
Nice.
So I watched a couple behind the scenes on Home Alone and on Elf, and they were great. I love seeing how like directors work and like knowing about the behind the scenes on projects. So that's a good series if anyone's like into the behind the scenes of filmmaking. Plus, those two episodes are like two of my favorite directors, Chris Columbus and Jon Favreau. Like they're great. So yeah, I'll pass it on to Logan.
I finished Flight Attendant this week, which I ended up liking. It's pretty good. I was not quite sure about it in the first half, but it got me back. I'm still watching Critical Role because of course I'm a dork. And then we at Blackwolves have been releasing a bunch of stuff this week, so I've been watching a lot of that.
True.
We definitely got into the Christmas spirit with a special cover by a special someone who's right above me.
Oh,
he's over here on my screen.
Oh, he's over there on your screen.
I'm over. Like I'm in. You both were looking in the wrong direction on my screen. But I guess that means it's my turn to say what I've been up to. Yeah, this past week I put on a special cover of one of my favorite holiday songs, "White Christmas" by Irving Berlin on the Blackwolves Instagram. You can go and check it out. Give it a like, support the arts. We out here doing all that stuff. Besides making content I've been digesting. Still watching the Queen's Gambit. I can only really do like one episode a day.
It's tough.
Kind of not really because it's tough. It's kind of because like I think I've gotten my mom into it, so it's like I usually wait till she's on break from her job to like start an episode so she can at least catch some of it. But also like when it just comes to like shows that are like a solid hour, like I can't. It's like something in me can't binge it as easily as something like The Mandalorian, where it's like I'll watch like a whole season in a day because each episode is like 30 to 40 minutes. That's my sweet spot. I also, per Jacob's recommendation, I rewatched Ghost in the Shell, the remake with Scarlett Johansson. To clarify, I only watched about half of it because it's not that great. But what I really wanted to see is how they translated some of the coolest scenes from the original anime version, which is highly superior, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's into that kind of cyberpunky type of world. And yeah, I mean the visual effects hold up, which is it's always nice. And yeah, speaking of Cyberpunk, I've been playing a lot of that. I think I'm probably about like 35 hours in.
Okay.
I've been like holding off, right? But there won't be any spoilers, so don't worry. I'm like holding. I think I'm on the last mission. I'm like holding off on it though. It's like you know when you play that RPG and then it's like if you do this mission, you can't go back.
Yeah, you get that feeling, that no return feeling, that moment of no return. Yeah,
exactly. So I've just kind of been like steamrolling through side missions, and like not necessarily in like a way of like I need to get these off my plate, but more like I'm actually invested in this story. Um, and yeah, so like on the topic of Cyberpunk, I'm open to like talk about it if y'all have any questions. Maybe there's some stuff I can clarify. I know that in terms of marketing, Cyberpunk has been very messy since its release. So I'm open to any and all questions, and I will answer them in the best of my ability.
I have a question.
Jacob, yes, please.
So I know, Jeremy, you are fortunate enough to have the PlayStation 5. So I'm sure that the game is running more smoothly for you than it would be for, let's say, me if I were to get the game. I actually read yesterday that PlayStation took Cyberpunk off the store
Yep.
Big oof.
for
Real
digital
big
download
oof.
because they kind of redacted the the game. Um, so I can't play it even if I want to. Really, it just at this point it's just not ready. It feels like. But my question for you is, how are the graphics holding up, and do you find it smooth to play on the PlayStation 5?
Okay. Well, let me say that if you did want to play it, you still could. You just have to buy a physical copy somewhere. It's just a digital copy that you cannot play.
Right. But
Yes.
even the physical copy would be a little buggy.
Yeah,
I think a little buggy is a very generous. Use of the
either
word
way
little.
you slice it, it's not like if you pick one over the other, you're going to get a better experience. Yes, I am playing on PS5. I'll answer your question first about the graphics before I talk about the bugs. Graphically, it's not like the prettiest game in the world, and it's really interesting to see that. Like this year, we've had like Final Fantasy VII Remake and The Last of Us Part 2 and Ghosts of Tsushima, and those are all like super beautiful games that like take advantage of this like 2013 hardware in this like really beautiful way. And like, don't get me wrong, Cyberpunk 2077 is like, it's a great looking game. I think what it excels in the most is like atmosphere and art direction. There's always something about like on the PS5, I'm not playing like a PS5 version. They haven't released that yet. So right now I'm really playing like the PS4 version on my PlayStation 5. But there's just something about atmosphere and the way that like light lingers in the air, and the way that like even without ray tracing, that like light reflects off surfaces. Anytime there's anything having to do with like neon lights, like street lights, car lights, the game looks fantastic, and it does a great job of like sucking you into the world. But in terms of like pure graphical fidelity, like I don't think it's gonna, especially in its current state, I don't think it's gonna like blow anyone's socks off. And especially like in its current state, I'm playing on PS5 and I'm having some problems, that first day I got it, I was when I first popped the game in, I got really sad because textures were taking like long to load in, like everything was kind of blurry. I was really sad because I was like, damn, I've been waiting for this game for such a long time, and here I am playing it on next gen, and it like doesn't look good. But they released a patch, and now it looks a lot better, and it plays a bit better. I'm experiencing frequent crashing, honestly, like once every 2 hours. It's like it's not running great, not even on next gen consoles. And you know what? It's a damn shame because everyone's focus is on the bugs right now, and there is a really, really good game underneath it all, but it's just overshadowed right now, and it sucks.
Do you think that they were premature with their release date? Like, do you think that COVID might have like put a wrench in their works over at the developing center? Like, why
I don't
release a
know.
game that's not complete?
I mean, we can ask that question to a multitude of game developers, Bethesda, EA, Crystal Dynamics, and Square Enix. Um, we can ask that question to a lot of developers, but especially CD Projekt Red with their extremely good reputation after The Witcher 3. You know, they were that company that like everyone was like, everyone should be more like CD Projekt Red when it comes to supporting their games. And the way that that narrative has like 180'd so hard is really sad to see. I don't know what was going on with
I don't know.
their release. I think that shareholders and executives mismanaged the dev team. I think they put too much pressure on them to get it out by holiday 2020. Because like I said, there's a great game underneath it all. And like I can tell that devs poured their heart out into this game because there's life brimming everywhere in this game. It really feels like like GTA, like GTA meets Skyrim almost, you know, where it's that first person really RPG perspective where it's like the more you shoot a handgun, the better you're going to be at a handgun. You know, it has that kind of progression system, but
I
with
see.
that GTA world where it's kind of satirical and everything, and everyone's kind of like cursing, and you can find like sex everywhere. I don't know what's going on there. Like this game was announced 8 years ago for, I guess, what would now be considered last gen consoles, PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. And to see it and to see it run badly and to hear all these stories, it just like it sucks. Like this was like the game of like the year, you know? This everyone was so hyped for this game and it's just like womp.
Yeah, I think there's also like, along with the shareholders that you were talking about, Jeremy, and it's happening so much more nowadays, which I think gives gaming such a bad name. There's such a very, very vocal minority of people that feel entitled to like, I would say everything, but specifically in gaming, to like games when they want them. And so there had been a lot of talk throughout the year of, because of COVID and just because it wasn't done, which as we can see, the game is not done. They released it unfinished. The dev team kept pushing it back and pushing it back. And finally it got to a point where like Twitter was sending death threats to all of the dev team every day. And there comes a point that your shareholders are saying, we need you to release this game. And your fans are saying, we're going to kill you if you don't release this game. That decisions get made to release a game that's not done. And then the game gets released and all of a sudden everyone's surprised that it's not done. So I think it was a perfect storm of just like this game that everyone was really excited for, that the dev team really wanted to be good, that they kept pushing back to make sure it was good, that people got tired of waiting for. Which, hey, don't announce a game 8 years before it's finished.
That's also a
Absolutely.
trend. That's also a trend in the gaming industry that it's like we're gonna announce it with just a title, like they did it with Cyberpunk.
Skyrim 6.
They did it with Skyrim 6, Elden Ring, Kingdom Hearts 3, like all these games that they announce like before it's even playable. For example, like the Game Awards just happened last week, and I think that out of that entire like 2.5 hour thing where they were showing off like 20 plus different world premieres, only like maybe 2 or 3 of those actually showed gameplay. And it's like and then it's like, you know, like there was one trailer for a game called Crimson Desert that it was just like all gameplay, and it like sure it looked a little stuttery and stuff, but it's like that's fine. Like this is alpha gameplay. At least you're showing me like what the game actually plays like instead of like just giving me like a dream or an idea of what the game's gonna be.
Yeah. See,
And
that's my
then
problem with Cyberpunk. I like picture that grand shot of Keanu Reeves like
And it
being
looks nothing like that.
yeah, and in response to like gamer entitlement, like that shit needs to stop.
100%.
Honestly, like no person should be sending any game developer like even if like I condemn crunch, I condemn like mismanagement, you know, and shady business and you know those shady business practices, but like we should not be sending game developers death threats because you didn't like the game or you didn't like the character or the game is filled with bugs. That's that's the worst of our fandom.
Yeah,
you
we
know?
can pull that even back to the Last of Us release, which Laura Bailey, who congratulations for winning the Game Award for Outstanding Performance. She is one of the best voice actors in the entire industry. The crap that the game community put her through because of a character that she played was quite honestly disgusting.
It's sickening, and not in the good way.
No, it was infuriating. It was heartbreaking to watch someone who I greatly respect as both a performer and a person get death threats because she played a character in a video game. It's like, I get it. We're all going through COVID. Things are intense. You really care about your game, but it's a video game.
There are much bigger things to be worrying about in the world
if the
than
thing
your
that's
character.
freaking you out is that, like, you didn't like a character in a video game, then your priorities are a little bit skewed. So I think, along with Jeremy, the gaming industry really needs to fix that, because it's a huge problem that we have that is going to honestly cause us to lose quality. And we're already seeing it. We're seeing games getting released broken. We're seeing actors not want to come over to the game sphere because they're worried about that kind of behavior. We're seeing voice acting performances that just aren't up to par with what they should be. We're going to lose quality based on the fact that people think. And gaming already has a reputation of being like a bunch of people in their basements cursing at each other and like being awful.
Yeah, it's only really within the last 10 years that I feel like the discussion of like, can games be art, which, side note, they always have been.
Yep.
But like like with games like Shadow of the Colossus, which was more than 10 years ago, or more recent games like The Last of Us, the discussion of can games be art has kind of elevated the gaming sphere into more of a mainstream circle. But it's things like toxic fandoms and bad and rapid releases like this that bring us back down.
Yeah, and then you have, on the other hand, indie games like Sea of Solitude, What Happened to Edith Finch, like these really interesting, intricate stories about mental health and society and who we are. And I think gaming has a real place on the stage as storytellers, and the fact that we keep getting sidelined by crunch and by early releases and all of this stuff, it puts a bad taste in people's mouths. It's something that needs to get fixed.
I think what shareholders I think more shareholders than game dev executives, because I think executives might understand this a bit more. But I think basically what higher ups and game devs need to realize is that, like, no matter what, your reputation will define you. Sure, gamers will be mad at you if you keep delaying a game, but there's the saying in the gaming world that, like, a game that's released early is bad forever. A game that's delayed is just delayed,
Yep.
I would rather have a much delayed game that it came out and it ran perfectly than have what I have now. But I still, if you're interested in Cyberpunk, if you're really interested in Cyberpunk, if you're looking for a new game to play and Cyberpunk is the one on your mind, I wouldn't say don't let it stop you. Don't let the bug stop you. These are all fixable things. I have faith in them that by February that this game will be in a much more playable state. The story is great. I haven't been this invested in an RPG story since Persona 5.
Nice.
I really feel connected to my V, that's the protagonist. I feel connected to him. I feel even more connected to like the characters that are just so well written and three-dimensional. It really feels like a tabletop game come to life. And like, I'm as buggy and as often as it crashes, I'm still hooked and I'm still playing for hours on end. Yeah.
Do you feel like you're getting a unique player experience, like tailored to you and what like Jeremy wants?
I think I am. I've been talking to fellow Blackwolves member Michael Jorge about this, because he's also playing Cyberpunk, and I've been every time we're talking, I'm always like, oh, what happened to you in this mission? How did you play this out? Because you start the game and you can choose a different life path. So you could be a corporate person, a street kid, or a nomad, which means you like grew up on the outskirts of the big city. Um, and while it might not be like every single choice matters, like it's not a telltale game, but I get to play it the way I want to play it. So like I could be talking to another character, and it could be like main objective dialogue choice that relates to your background, dialogue choice that remains to a skill that you have really high. And it's like all three of them could progress the story. And it's like they're not going to look at you different. There's not going to be like a reputation system, but just knowing that it's like, well, only I get to incorporate my knowledge of the streets because I chose that background, and hearing that like I can have that context, like it makes it feel like it is a role-playing game, like very similar to like D&D, where it's like only I get to make these choices because of like my background and the choices I've made previously leading up to this moment. I do feel it's unique. And I like, I feel like I could be violent when I want to, I could be rude when I want to, I could be nice when I want to. I feel like a problem I have with a lot of like RPGs sometimes is that like the choice that they show you isn't necessarily what comes out of your character's mouth. And I feel like in this game that it's like it's kind of a what you see is what you get kind of thing, which I really appreciate. Um,
Yeah, there's
yeah,
nothing
and
worse than like hitting something and being like, "Oh no, I didn't think you would say that." Like,
Yeah,
exactly.
like, oh, I want this person to like leave this situation, and instead it's like, I'm gonna murder you if you don't. That's not what I meant.
Mhm.
I did not want you to do that.
And going and continuing with like if I feel like my playthrough is unique, like there's also your stats that you can pour skills into. So there's like body, reflexes, technical ability, intelligence, and cool. And you set up your stats exactly, you set up your stats right at the beginning of the game, but like by no means are you locked into these choices. It's a very flexible system. When I started my game, I thought I was going to put the least amount of emphasis into my body stats, which kind of determines like how you handle assault rifles and machine and shotguns, how you your athleticism, like how you like do melee attacks. And I think most of my upgrades have been in like the assault category. My reflexes is my highest thing, and I feel like I've like barely scratched the surface of those stats. I have a super high technical ability, which determines like crafting and engineering, and I don't have anything upgraded in those skill trees. So it's very flexible, and I never really feel like I'm like losing out on something, And a lot of these skill perks are like percentages or like recoil rates or like reload speeds, but it's like these are changes that I can like feel in the game. It's very minute, but it's like when I'm playing it, it's like suddenly I'm like, wait, this does feel like it controls better. I do feel like these choices are making a difference.
Nice.
Yeah,
Alright.
like I said, it's a great game getting buried under a lot of bad news. Some of the ire towards it is deserved. Some of it is toxic and too much. But if you have genuine interest in Cyberpunk, don't let the bug stop you. This is a great game. It's like I said, it's sad to see such a great game with an enticing story and characters and fun gameplay um kind of get left out of the conversation, because there's a bigger conversation to be had about the game. Yeah. And speaking of things to be mad about, you know what I don't like? Breaking COVID regulations
Oh, I don't like
in
that
the
either.
chat.
Oh
And I
boy.
think, and you know what, if anything, I think besides wanting to, jump on a couch every now and then, that's what we all have in common with Tom Cruise, that we don't like it when COVID regulations are broken. Tom Cruise definitely doesn't like it.
Not since Christian Bale have we
Not
heard
since
a.
Christian Bale have we seen a rant this juicy.
Shall we say passionate?
It was quite
Passionate.
passionate.
Yeah. Yeah. So this past week, audio. The Sun had an exclusive audio clip of Tom Cruise ranting, going off, as some might say, on some of the crew members on Mission Impossible 7. Apparently, they were breaking COVID protocols, and Tom Cruise, not only being the lead actor but one of the head producers, he went off. He went real off on them.
Listen.
Initial thoughts. Did you all hear the audio? The
Oh
audio
yeah.
recording?
Yep, listen to the whole thing.
I am not the biggest supporter of Tom Cruise, specifically his particular personal beliefs. As an actor, I think he's really cool. I think he's my mom describes him as kind of the last great movie star.
He's an incredibly hard worker.
Yes, in that kind of classic sense of like a guy who is just a movie star. Tom Cruise fits the mold perfect.
And he'll do anything for the movie.
This guy...
So many of his own stunts.
Does all his own stunts. Not only is he the producer on Mission Impossible 7, but he paid, I think, upwards of like $400,000 to house everyone on his own boat so they could actually make this movie happen. I think he was absolutely justified. Like, if what he said was absolutely true. The productions that are shooting right now are all being watched by the entire industry as the standard of what do we do going forward. There are thousands upon thousands of arts workers that are out of work right now because movies aren't being made, Broadway's not being made, theater is on pause, everything is shut down. And so to be so cavalier as to like go to one of the few sets that's actually open right now and just like ignore COVID protocols is disrespectful. And to actually like to have the audacity to like do it is shocking to me. And so I think he was absolutely justified to lose it the way that he did. I feel like I might lose it in the same way if I had insurance companies calling me every night being like, so do you have any positive tests? Has anyone tested positive? How are your protocols going? It's like the dude's under a lot of pressure.
If I could just read a few quotes from this audio transcript. I'll leave the I'll do a little like kind of all right. If I see you do it again, you're gone. And if anyone in this crew does it, that's it. And you too, and you too, and you don't you ever do it again. They're back there in Hollywood making movies right now because of us. We are creating thousands of jobs. You motherfuckers. That's it. No apologies. You can tell it to the people that are losing their homes because our industry is shut down. Well, I can't find the exact quote. He like right at the beginning of the rant, he talks about how like, and like you just said, Logan, that's like we're the golden standard for making movies. Jacob, any thoughts?
No, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, whoever was on the receiving end of this rant, like, it potentially puts the whole movie industry at risk for success because it's the standard that you have to keep up and I just want so badly for everything to go well and for things to continue as, productively as they
once
can.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like this rant is coming out of a vacuum. Like, it's not like Mission Impossible is the only movie being shot right now. The Batman, which is supposed to be one of the biggest movies of 2021, had to shut down because they didn't follow COVID protocols and they had positive cases on set. I don't think they've picked up filming yet, and that was like 2 months ago.
Well, I also heard another rumor as to why they hadn't picked up filming yet.
Interesting.
I had heard, and this could possibly be not true, but I had heard that they shut down because of COVID. During that time, Robert Pattinson was not...
Oh, yeah, that's the person that broke COVID protocols.
Our Pats.
Yeah.
Okay, so just clarifying, Robert Pattinson broke COVID protocols on the set of the new Batman.
Yep.
So are you saying that he got COVID?
From what I heard, either he got COVID or they saw how much he broke the COVID protocols that they just shut the entire shoot down.
Okay, not going to spread any rumors on this podcast. Just
That is
just
what
conversation.
we have heard from
Yeah.
industry people. We don't know any information. We don't pretend to, but that is
Right.
Yeah.
the story.
But, I mean, going further, I heard that during this time off, he had gained some weight, and when they came back, his Batman bod was not what they needed it to be to continue filming.
Interesting.
I didn't hear that part.
I did not hear that part either, but
We can all fact check right now. If you're a viewer, just wait till the end of the podcast and then you can fact check.
yeah, scream at us. that we're wrong.
Don't say you heard it from the Blackwolves boys that our Pats
Got fat.
yeah, you know.
But
yeah, going back to like the COVID protocols and stuff, like it's you know, it's important that all these people follow these protocols because you know, there are people putting a lot of money. There are people losing their jobs in the industry. There's people losing their homes. There are people who in the industry who can't feed their family because the movie industry is essentially shut down right now, you know. And if it's consistently shown that people can't follow protocols, then there's going to be less movies made, which means less job opportunities for thousands of people. It's important. It's important, and it's not that hard either to just have your mask on. You know,
Yeah.
really isn't.
I'm
that
with
hard.
Tom Cruise.
yeah.
Yeah. It was interesting at first when I heard that Tom Cruise went on a rant. I was getting flashbacks like Christian Bale just being like, oh, okay, here we go, another diva meltdown. And then as soon as he started, I was like, oh,
I am one of
okay, then this
the
is what we're doing.
few
Okay,
people that actually thinks Christian Bale was justified in his rant. I don't think he should have been as aggressive as he was, but I do think he was absolutely justified in that particular opinion of his. Because
his very outspoken opinion.
yeah, I mean, I think there's I don't know what the word is, but there's a stigma around actors that like we're supposed to be just actors, that like, oh, you show up and you act and your job is so easy and whatever. But I think with that comes a lot of the idea that like acting is easy. And for whatever reason, like there's been this idea in society that like being an actor is a really easy job and that like, oh, you'll just start acting and then make thousands of dollars, which is completely not true. And so I think there were a lot of people that looked at that Christian Bale thing and said, oh, wow, what a diva. But for people that have like worked on sets and had to do like emotional scenes where like you're supposed to be having a breakdown in the middle of something, if you're in the middle of like doing that and they're rolling and you're getting a really good performance and like you've been spending 4 hours in the darkest place that you can possibly be so that you continue to give that performance, to have someone walk in front of a camera and like ruin a shot because they saw the light was weird, I would lose my mind. Because especially if like, according to the Christian Bale thing from a couple of years ago, it was not the first time that this particular person had ruined this particular.
Yeah, it's like he had done it a couple times. And that's
it
just
was like the third or fourth time.
That's just film set like etiquette. Like you don't walk in front of a shot.
You don't walk
never.
in front of a shot. You don't change lights while the cameras are rolling. It was dumb, and I don't think there's any other way. Like, sure, there should have been a much calmer reaction to it, but I mean, that's less a place for Christian Bale to like calm down and more a place for a director to be like, you need to like not do this or get off set because this is going to ruin our entire day.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know how seriously Christian Bale takes his craft. Like,
yeah. For good reason. He's good at it.
Yeah.
Even if you're working on a movie like Terminator, like
Where was the director?
where was the director? Where was the director? Where were the producers? Where was anyone else
AD, like
to say,
someone.
don't walk in
Hey,
front of the
man.
camera?
Maybe you shouldn't do this. Well, I hope these crewmates have learned their lesson. I hope filming goes well for the rest of Mission Impossible and for the rest of the movie industry, because we all need this year, rightly so, because of the global pandemic going on. This year's been lacking in movies. And but you know what? It's kind of a double-edged sword. We lacked movies this year, but now everything and their mother is gonna start dropping in 2021.
Oh, there's a lot of good stuff coming out soon.
I mean, even going back to last week, we're not gonna spend. I'm not gonna stay on this topic, but like, even going back to last week, just like the overwhelming content that like Disney is gonna start putting out alone should signify what, honestly, like very very similar to like the Roaring Twenties, like the renaissance of art that could come out of this pandemic going forward. And we already have a few picks of things that are coming out soon, later.
Some things coming out that we just got trailers for, and some things coming out this week.
I got a few picks. It's funny that, and I'll let you talk more about this, Jacob, but I was just wondering the other day, I wonder what Justin Timberlake's doing. I wonder what he's up to.
Oh, this trailer.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So let's talk a bit about the trailer for Palmer. Yeah.
New movie from Apple.
You both saw it? The trailer?
I saw the trailer,
yeah.
Yes.
Good. So this is a new film from Apple. It's an Apple TV Plus original film starring Justin Timberlake. I feel like a lot of movies these days are like coming out targeted at middle America. Like not targeted at, but like, do you know what I'm seeing?
Yeah,
like I'm seeing a pattern.
There's like Palmer, there's Nomadland with Frances McDormand, there's Hillbilly Elegy. I see what you're saying.
Some of them are doing it in a much more effective way than others.
I haven't seen any of these movies, by the way. Palmer isn't out yet.
At least from what I've heard, in a more effective way. Palmer, I think, to me, looks less like it's targeted at middle America and more like not like, I think it's marketed for middle America. Like that's who they want to watch the movie. But it feels like Hollywood and kind of like the coastal America trying to like get middle America to understand something, not in a like we need to educate you way, but in a like, you guys have been saying this thing is crazy for so long, so let's put it in filmmaking and try and put it on a platform that you can embrace rather than think is weird.
It's like you guys see The Prom, the musical?
I have not.
Okay, so Netflix Ryan Murphy just made a film of The Prom with Netflix, and it's exactly the same. Like he's bringing that Broadway show, like coastal influence, to middle America through Netflix kind of, and also of course the writers of this amazing musical,
which is amazing, except for the fact that Prom closed like 5 months ago and they used none of the cast from the Broadway show. And
okay, all right, I mean, so there is that for the Broadway world.
It's a little frustrating for the theater world to see like these really amazing shows. Like, do not get me wrong, I think Broadway shows being turned into movies is really great. I just do have a slight tinge for Broadway shows that have just closed getting then turned into these multi-million-dollar movies where movie stars are making a ton of money to do a show one time that these Broadway actors, because newsflash, Broadway actors do not get paid a ton of money. Like they make a decent amount. Broadway is a good gig, but Broadway is not like you live in the penthouse apartment of the One Penn Plaza. It's most people on Broadway that are doing like ensemble or anything that's not like I am a movie star that is coming to Broadway is not getting paid a lot of money. So to see these people who worked really hard, who originated this musical, who like put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, basically get told, hey, we're going to take everything that you guys did and we're going to put it on screen and do it ourselves and pay all of them a lot more money and release it with their names on it. And now everyone's going to remember their performance and probably not yours. It's like, that rubs me a little bit the wrong way.
100%.
Especially with like that, The Humans becoming a movie.
Are you really?
I
Yes.
had the same reaction when he said that the other day to me. I was like, The Humans?
Interesting. That's really interesting. Dear Evan Hansen's gonna be a movie.
Dear Evan Hansen's going to be a movie. Yeah, The Humans, which is being produced by, I believe, Amy Schumer.
Wow.
Isn't Amy Schumer also in the movie?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking it up now because I didn't know we were going to talk about The Humans.
Right. No, very spontaneous. It's fine. We were just taken here.
Yeah. The only cast member from the original show, The Humans, that is returning is Jane Houdyshell, who, love her.
Right, of course, love her.
But the rest of the cast is June Squibb as the grandmother character, Stephen Yoon as Richard, Beanie Feldstein as the younger sister, Amy Schumer as the older sister, Richard Jenkins as the father, and Jane Houdyshell as the mother.
Okay.
Which sounds like a great cast, but the Broadway show had Reed Birney and Arian Moayed, who Jacob, Jeremy, and I know, not only professionally but personally, and who are both incredible actors. And so to kind of see them get brushed over for movie stars is a little frustrating to me. Do not get me wrong, Richard Jenkins and Stephen Yoon are both incredible actors, and I think they're going to absolutely destroy these roles. But there is a give and take of Broadway versus film that I wish would not be quite so. I wish we could find a way to come together rather than we're going to do our thing after you did your thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the new West Side Story is hopefully doing that,
I hope it's good. I so hope. I mean, if you can't tell, I really like West Side Story. So I'm really hoping that show, that movie is good.
Fingers
I mean,
crossed.
I'm rooting for our friend Ben Cook. So, it's possible that Broadway people can be in these film adaptations. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Steven Spielberg.
Yeah. More of that. Give me more of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right, shall we move on to another movie?
I mean, you
Yeah,
didn't
what
really
else
get to
we
give your
got?
opinion on Palmer. We kind of went off on this side tangent about
True,
Middle America.
I mean, yes,
Let
yeah.
me just quickly just read a synopsis
Please.
of Palmer, straight from apple.com. Written by Cheryl Guerrero. Palmer follows a former college football phenomenon named Eddie Palmer, played by Timberlake, who, after a stint in prison, returns to his hometown to get his life back on track. There, he faces not only lingering conflicts from his past, but also a much more surprising challenge as he finds himself suddenly in charge of a unique young boy who has been abandoned by his wayward mother. Along with Timberlake, Palmer stars Juno Temple, Academy Award nominee June Squibb, Alicia Wainwright, and introduces Ryder Allen. So go ahead, please continue to give your thoughts on Palmer, because you were the one that actually sent this trailer to Logan and I.
Yeah, it looks so heartwarming, and I feel like obviously it's a story that I feel like a lot of people will be able to relate to. And I think that it's a great story for, well, I'm thinking especially for Middle America, or I should specify people who might be struggling to accept gender nonconforming children for who they are.
Absolutely.
And I think that this movie could speak to a lot of people, and a lot of people could learn a lot from these characters. And bravo to Justin Timberlake for hopping back into his first dramatic role since 2017.
It's been a while.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
I think the last thing he did was In Time with Amanda Seyfried.
It's been a time.
So yeah, it's been a minute. I think he's done some like voice work for animated stuff, but like to see him taking on this dramatic role, like I'm really proud. The first thing I saw Justin Timberlake act in was I think The Social Network, and um, since then I've been a big fan.
Yeah, he hasn't done anything actually dramatic since 2017. And before that was 2013. So it has been quite a while since we saw Justin Timberlake on screen. Still a huge fan of him in The Social Network. I think that's one of the best performances he's ever given. But I too am very excited. I watched the trailer and was already about to cry. So I am ready for that movie.
Yeah. Keep your eyes out for Palmer. It drops when does it drop? It actually doesn't say on Apple's own website when it drops.
Well, I bet it's 2021 because
I bet it's 2021.
I think it's January 2021, but I could be wrong.
Oh, soon. Excellent.
There are a couple more movies that we should talk about before we wrap up this podcast. We're getting close to time.
Yep.
Ooh. Okay. Well,
we also
quickly talk about Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk, and one of my favorites,
stars as John Wick.
Yeah,
right.
This is like.
I mean, it seems like they're really following that vein. It's like I believe it's the same director.
Same director. Producer. It might be a different.
They share some crew members, and even the poster is kind of stylized in like I think it might be like John Wick 2 or John Wick 3 fashion. Main character in the center, all the guns being pointed at him. Instead this time it's Bob Odenkirk in the center, getting beat up a lot.
Yeah.
It's the director of Hardcore Henry.
The
VR completely first person movie.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Which I thought was pretty cool. So I'm excited for that.
I remember
nobody looks like a fun ride. It looks action packed. It looks funny. Bob Odenkirk is a great actor.
He looks fit. He looks hot. He looks like hot dad in this movie. Like, what the heck?
Who would have thought that Bob Odenkirk would glow up like that in 2020?
Right? I mean, both him and Bryan Cranston like glowed the heck up. Like
Bryan Cranston was already a very attractive man.
Okay, you're right. I'm just saying, like from
Walter.
Okay, you're right. From Walter to like Your Honor. Like,
yeah.
And also from Saul Goodman to like Heisenberg. He's like Breaking Bad. Like it's exciting. This movie looks really, really fun. I want to see it.
Me too.
Yeah.
We got a couple more movies. Are these all movies that are dropping this week? Is that what this is?
I think everything but Soul is dropping this week.
No, Soul is dropping on Christmas.
Oh, so then all of these are dropping this week.
Well, that's awesome. We got the next Pixar animated film, Soul, Christmas release, starring Jamie Foxx, Daveed Diggs, Tina Fey, music by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross. Social Network, Gone Girl, mid-90s Mank. Phenomenal music makers. Really interested to see how the story in Soul pans out, because I think it literally has to do with like what happens after you die.
I think it's more about finding your purpose in life, no matter how old you are, like finding what your soul connects with,
what it means to be alive.
Yeah. And like I think it's like a find your purpose movie.
Yeah.
It's I think whichever way you slice it, it's a heavy topic for a children's movie. Not anything controversial, but like definitely a lot for a children's movie, and I'm excited to see how they handle it. It's a Pixar movie, so I'm going to be watching.
It's interesting to see, because I remember Soul was being like trailered and discussed before the pandemic, so I think it's very timely to have a movie about like death and loss and like what it means to be alive coming out during a time like this. I think it's poignant to have this kind of movie when there are a lot of kids who are dealing for the first time in their young lives with loss and with like what happens after we die, which is a question that I feel like a lot of us before the pandemic didn't have to face until we got a little bit older. So the idea of like Pixar kind of doing something like this that comes about at such a perfect time, I think it's going to be really, really, really good for everybody.
Yeah. We also got Promising Young Woman coming out next Friday.
I'm so excited.
This movie looks intense. It's a dark comedy. A young woman traumatized by a tragic event in her past seeks out vengeance against those who cross her path. Looks like a fun thrill ride of feminine revenge, and I'm here for it.
It looks dark, and I am so excited for that. Bo Burnham is an awesome actor and writer and director and everything. So I'm excited for anything he's a part of.
Carey Mulligan plays the lead,
is brilliant.
who is someone from she's in a lot of movies that I really enjoy, like Great Gatsby, Drive. She's incredible in both of those movies, and I'm a sucker for Carey Mulligan. I'll watch it just for her, honestly.
It's gonna be great for sure.
We also got News of the World coming out, new Tom Hanks movie. Civil War veteran agrees to deliver a girl taken by the Kiowa people years ago to her aunt and uncle against her will. They travel hundreds of miles and face grave dangers as they search for a place that either can call home. I actually haven't seen this trailer. Have you guys? What's up? What do you think of it?
I have. To me, it looks like kind of sort of True Grit, sort of like in that vein of older father figure has to take the girl on a great journey. It looks like the kind of movie that is gonna be trying for Oscars. It looks like the kind of movie that's we have Tom Hanks. It is a Tom Hanks movie. If you have seen Tom Hanks in something, you know what to expect. It is that kind of movie. It's Tom Hanks is a hero because Tom Hanks is a hero. So yeah, I expect it to be another Tom Hanks movie, and I will happily pay money to see it.
Yeah. We also got One Night in Miami, which I feel like I've heard the least.
Directorial debut.
Regina King of If Beale Street Could Talk, Watchmen. So she was in Ray. So
of
many
everything.
Incredible actor. One Night in Miami is a fictional account of one incredible night where icons Muhammad Ali, Malcolm X, Sam Cooke, and Jim Brown gathered discussing their roles in the civil rights movement and cultural upheaval of the 60s.
It looks great. The fact that it's called One Night in Miami makes me think that most of the action is going to take place in one night. It feels very play-like on screen, which I'm always excited for. If you want more Broadway on screen, just write movies that are like plays. We are so okay with that. It looks great. It looks like a lot of really good actors in one room having really deep conversations about America and race and rights, and so excited for it. It's also the same writer as Soul, so both of those coming out in the same week is very cool.
And finally, probably the biggest release coming out on Christmas Day. Probably feels weird to say this, one of the most anticipated movies of this year. Wonder Woman 1984. I think this is going to be our sole superhero movie release of the year.
Yeah.
Coming from DC. Gal Gadot and Chris Pine return. This time, Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig are thrown into the mix, as I think they're supposed to be our antagonists.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
The posters look very psychedelic. I'm all for the art direction for this, and honestly, I've been hearing a lot of good reviews. I've heard that this movie has a lot of heart to it, and that it's an ode to superhero movies of the past. It's part of that HBO Warner Brothers deal that it's going to be dropping day one. This one will not be streaming in 4K, but that's fine. It's less about the quality and more about the quality of the film itself.
Listen, Patty Jenkins is a fantastic director. She did a great job with Wonder Woman 1, and I have no doubt that she's going to do a great job with this. She has an impeccable eye when it comes to film. She really knows how to get great shots. She makes action look exciting. I have no doubt this is going to be great. There are some superhero movies that I'm I don't know about this one. This might be hit. This one, I have no doubts. I am ready to, on Christmas Day, pop this in with my mom and make some popcorn and watch Wonder Woman 1984.
Amazing.
Right. And we'll all be looking forward to the holiday season. It's next week.
Yeah.
7 days away from Christmas Day,
7 days away from Christmas.
Hanukkah just ended. You know, it's a festive time. You know, let your spirits be light this coming week. You know, maybe give someone a hug with
Maybe
your
next
mask
year we'll
on.
do a like year-end wrap-up, talk about the things that we really liked from this year. Maybe try and give a
Yeah, I
positive spin to 2020.
usually around this
Yeah.
time we talk about our favorite movies of the year, but there's not many movies that came out this year.
Quite
So
a few that
I'm
came
just gonna
out, just came out quietly.
Let's talk about that next week,
Yeah.
right before the new year. We'll have an episode 3 of the podcast featuring our favorites of 2020.
Nice wrap up. Blackwolves has a bunch of cool stuff coming this week, so keep your eye out for that. More covers, more interviews, more the perfect
more
shade behind the scenes. Yeah, very excited for everything we have going on going into 2021.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for joining the pack today. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we'll be able to say that again next time. From Black Wolves, I'm Jeremy Van Suarez.
I'm Jacob Wade.
And I'm Logan Riley Bruner.
And we hope you have a terrific week. Thanks for watching.